Nissan's shiny new D27 Navara ute has just dropped in Adelaide, and I'm using air quotes so thick you could tow a caravan with them. Because here's the thing, Nissan has essentially photocopied Mitsubishi's homework, slapped a different badge on it, called it a day. Is that a bit harsh? Maybe, but compare them side by side and you'll see what I mean. But before the Nissan fanboys start sharpening their pitchforks in the comments, let me say this, at least it's all new compared to the previous D23 Nissan Navara, which is a lot more than we can say for the new 2026 Toyota Hilux. The Toyota is basically warmed up leftovers with a different garnish. The new Navara, well, it's borrowed someone else's lunch entirely. The good news, that multi-link rear suspension of the previous Navara is gone, and so when's it coming to Australia? How much will it cost? It'll roll into dealerships in early 2026. Think February, something like that, February, March. Price, well, we don't know yet, but you can bet your bottom dollar the price is gonna go up. The way I see it, the new Nissan Navara D27 ute is pragmatic badge engineering. Nissan can't afford to develop its own ute from scratch, so it's borrowed Mitsubishi's ute. Cynical? Absolutely, but this does happen quite a lot. Think of the Ford Ranger, that's got Volkswagen Amarok spin-off. Think of the Isuzu D-Max, that's got the Mazda BT50 spin-off. Only thing with this one, I wished it looked a little different. Here's the facts. The D27 Navara shares its platform, mechanicals and most of its body with the Mitsubishi Triton, which was an all-new model launched in 2024. So they both share their ladder frame chassis, suspension setups, drivetrains, the whole kit and caboodle. It's badge engineering, pure and simple. Now, Nissan will tell you they've done local tuning with Premcar. They'll talk about 12 months of development and testing across Australia over more than 18,000 kilometres, and to be fair, it's a really positive talking point. Buyers will be able to choose from 3 different suspension tunes for different applications, which is actually pretty clever. And yes, there will be a Nissan Navara Warrior tough truck returning for active duty, but more on that in a jiffy. But here's where it gets a bit weak sauce. When you look at the design, you're basically looking at a Triton with a different front end. Sure, there's that bull bar inspired V-strut grille surround and 3 slots on top of that hark back to the D21 Navara of the 1990s. Nostalgia is good, but the sheet metal, it's virtually identical. The interior, dashboard, seats, appointments, almost a carbon copy except for badges, trims and colours. Is that a bad thing? Well, it depends on your view of badge engineering. From where I sit, it feels a bit emblematic of Nissan's market and financial position. It needed a ute, it needed it fast, and it needed it cheap. The Alliance platform sharing deal with Mitsubishi was the answer, and if the Triton is anything to go by, it'll be a good truck. And perhaps we're seeing the beginning of a new trend here where Japanese car brands are penny pinching when it comes to the development of new utes. The Chinese are doing it cheaper and faster, not necessarily better, but we are seeing brands like BYD and GWM eat into the market share of some of these legacy ute brands in Australia. All right, enough pessimism. Let's actually see what this new D27 Nissan Navara ute brings to the party. First up, power. The new Nissan Navara ditches Nissan's old 2.3-litre twin-turbo diesel for Mitsubishi's 2.4-litre turbo diesel. You're getting more power and more torque, up 10 kilowatts and 20 newton meters. That's not earth-shattering, but it's an improvement. And here's your daily reminder that Nissan's new Hilux gets the same engine as before, so at least Nissan can claim some progress in this respect. Gone is the 6-speed manual, which will upset exactly 3 people in Australia. Also gone, the cab chassis, the 4x2, the king cab, and the single cab. So it's only dual cab 4x4 now, which reflects what 90% of buyers actually want, or at least that's what Nissan reckons. Smart rationalization or killing choice for customers? Have your say in the comments. Now here's something interesting. There are 2 different 4x4 systems on offer now. Lower grades get a part-time setup like the old Navara, your traditional shift-it-yourself four-wheel drive, but step up to the STX and Pro 4X models and you get a permanent system with an open center diff, meaning you can run all-wheel drive on bitumen without binding up the driveline. Both systems get a locking electronic rear differential and you've got 7 drive modes to play with. Normal, eco, gravel, mud, snow, sand and rock. Whether you'll use half of them is debatable, but they're there. Now let's talk about the elephant that's been camping in Nissan's garage for years, rear suspension. The D23 Navara has had multi-link rear suspension that, on paper, should be brilliant. Better ride, better handling, the whole European dream. Only problem was, it was about as useful as a chocolate teapot when you hitched up a trailer to it or loaded it up. Not great. Nissan went through a series of updates trying to fix it. They strengthened bits, they revised bits, they probably sacrificed a few engineers to the automotive gods. But the fundamental issue remained. It just wasn't great. And don't get me started on the Mercedes-Benz X-Class.
When was the last time you saw one of these on Aussie roads? The Mercedes-Benz X-Class, yeah. Remember that thing?
So what's the solution? Scrap it entirely and go back to a solid rear axle and leaf springs? Yes, exactly what pretty much every other ute in the segment has adopted and continues to use, and what the D23 moved away from. Now, Nissan promises that all those towing and load issues have been resolved, and to be fair, the new Triton hasn't suffered any such issues. That said, it is a bit embarrassing when your high-performance revolutionary suspension is replaced by an old-school setup that everyone else has been using for decades. Towing capacity maxes out at 3,500 kilograms, and payload ranges from 950 kilos to almost 1,050 kilos. That minimum 950 kilograms is specifically designed to keep payload under 1 ton for fringe tax benefits purposes, because nothing says tough workhorse like tax optimization strategies. Oh, and the tray is longer than the D23 Navara, but still not wide enough to fit an Aussie pallet between the wheel arches, because apparently accommodating the actual dimensions that tradies use in this country is too much to ask. Inside, you're getting slightly more space than the D23, a few centimeters here and there. Not huge, but it's something, and it will make a difference. Tech-wise, you get a 9-inch infotainment screen front and center, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, a 7-inch TFT display between analog dials, and plenty comfy seats. Top spec models also add wireless phone charging, and there's also the My Nissan connected car services, which adds a smartphone app, connects to your car and lets you monitor and control some functions of the vehicle remotely in exchange for a bunch of personal data, which some car brands have admitted to monetizing. I'm not a huge fan of this. I think it stinks, but I mean, does anyone have digital privacy anymore? Safety kit has been bumped up significantly with all the acronyms you'd expect: autonomous braking, lane keeping, blind spot warning, cross traffic alerts, traffic sign recognition, driver monitoring, adaptive cruise, and an around view 360-degree parking camera is standard across the range. 8 airbags is great to see, and the new 2026 Navara will be tested up against the tougher 2026 ANCAP crash testing protocols. Will it get the full 5 stars? Probably, but we'll see. So far, Nissan has confirmed 2 grades, the STX and the flagship Pro 4X. The existing lineup has SL and ST below those, so we can assume they'll carry over in some form. The Pro 4X is where things get spicy. It comes with black exterior elements and these lava red appointments, both outside and in. You get a black sports bar, black 17-inch wheels wearing big, chunky all-terrain rubber, and a standard tow bar. The Triton the Navara STX has more of a I occasionally go to Bunnings vibe, with silver accents on the sports bar and also the front grille instead of that sort of black pack look. As mentioned, we still don't know what pricing is yet, but that'll be announced in early 2026. What we do know is that it will be covered by Nissan's impressive 10-year warranty if you service it with Nissan, which most people probably will. Plus, you get about 5 years cap price servicing along with 10 years roadside assist, all of which is very, very competitive. So I think they'll do well in this respect. Right, now we get to the good stuff, the bit that makes Aussie ute enthusiasts go weak at the knees, the Nissan Navara Warrior, the tough truck. Technically, it's still a concept. Technically, but when Nissan Australia's Oceania boss, Managing Director Andrew Humberstone, he says, and I quote, "We'll have more to share on the timing of the Warrior program next year." That's corporate speak for, it's definitely happening. We just can't officially tell you that. And I mean, look at the pics of it. I mean, if that's not production ready, slap me with a kipper and call me Captain Dropkick. I don't know. The Warrior program has been an absolute goldmine for Nissan and Premcar. Since 2019, they've delivered 12,750 Warrior badged vehicles. That's not a typo, 12,750. Aussies love these things. Beefed up suspension, a wider track, lots of body armour, all while keeping your factory warranty? Yes, it's a very popular formula. The concept that's been revealed follows that same recipe. Based on the Pro 4X, you're getting lifted suspension, wider tracks, and 32-inch all-terrain tyres, all built around a Premcar suspension tune that should be softer and more malleable and better off-road. The more obvious upgrades include that bull bar that hides the Mitsubishi-derived face, plus you've got pumped wheel arches that gives it that tough truck look. There's also a multi-stage underbody bash plate with Navara lettering, and of course the LED driving lights fixed to that bull bar as well. There are also two lava red recovery points on the back of the vehicle because apparently red ones make your recoveries 10% more effective. The entire vehicle is festooned with Warrior lettering. You got it on the front, the back, the sports bar, and even on the seats inside, because if you've spent the extra cash, you want the world to know that you're a warrior. Now here's where things get interesting, because this Warrior is not just about jacking up the ride height and getting a whole bunch of bolt-on accessories. No, the company has spent thousands, if not quillions, of man-hours developing the suspension for this tough truck to make it operate better off-road, but also still be good as a daily driver as well. Premcar CEO and engineering director Bernie Quinn, basically the godfather of the Warrior program, is excited about this D27 platform, and he should be. Quinn says the new platform is an exceptional foundation with its redesigned chassis and rugged, sophisticated suspension architecture, which again is corporate speak for the Mitsubishi platform's not bad, and thank goodness we've gotten rid of that crappy multi-link rear suspension. But if you were expecting powertrain mods on this new Warrior, you're going to be disappointed. It gets the same engine as the regular Navara. Look, I don't think that's a terrible thing, and the previous Warrior Navara didn't get engine upgrades, but you know, it would have been nice to see a couple of tweaks here and there, maybe. I'm at least hoping there's maybe a bit of an exhaust change or a different note from the engine, but there's a reason why we're not going to see any engine mods, and that's because of homologation complexity and cost. Basically, if you start pulling open the engine, which consists of tens of thousands of different moving parts, it's going to cost a lot of money, and it's going to eat up a lot of engineering resource as well. And to get it to meet Australian design rules it would be expensive, and especially to keep that warranty and say this engine's going to last for 10 years, even though we put a massive turbo on it and whatever else. It's tricky. Some people might see the lack of engine mods as a bit of a cop-out, but honestly, I don't think many Warrior buyers are really going to be too concerned, especially if you look at previous sales figures. You know, they're buying it for the capability upgrades, that look, and of course, the exclusivity factor. Besides, if you want more power, there's an entire aftermarket industry ready to take your money and reduce your warranty. Premcar's job is to make sure the chassis, suspension, and armour bits are well sorted, and historically, they've done that job very well. Okay, let's zoom out for a second and talk about what this new Navara means to Nissan, because this vehicle is celebrating its 40th anniversary in Australia. It first came here in 1986. It's sold almost 450,000 units since then. This is a proper legacy. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Sales of the Navara have been falling since the current D23 model has been aging. Nissan hasn't sold more than 20,000 utes in a calendar year since the D40 V6 days. That's more than a decade ago. And last year, in 2024, it only just cracked 10,000 sales. That's not ideal when you've got things like the Hilux selling 50,000 units per annum in Australia. The Navara's decline has basically dragged the entire Nissan brand down with it. So, the D27 isn't just a new ute, it's a lifeline. It's Nissan saying we're still relevant in the one-ton market. The problem is they're competing against very popular rivals. Again, the Hilux, the Ranger, the D-Max, the upstart BYD Shark 6, even the Mitsubishi Triton that this vehicle is based on. It's a brutally competitive segment. Will badge engineering and local suspension tuning be enough? Will the Warrior halo effect bring more people into dealerships? And will Aussies see that Mitsubishi DNA as a positive or a negative? Nissan's Oceania boss Andrew Humberstone reckons the new Navara represents what Australian drivers need from their pickup truck in this region. And I reckon if he gets it wrong, his job might be on the line. All right, let's wrap this up. And here's my take, and feel free to violently disagree in the comments. The 2026 D27 Nissan Navara Ute is a pragmatic solution to a desperate problem. Nissan has been cash-strapped for a long time. We knew this ute would be paired with the Triton, their alliance partners. It makes sense. And Nissan needed a ute quickly, and it needed a good ute. And in a lot of ways, I think having that Mitsubishi DNA will help. It certainly can't be worse than the previous Navara. The concern is differentiation. When you're this close to your donor vehicle, you're competing on price and brand loyalty, and I have a feeling the Nissan is going to be more expensive than the Mitsubishi. Toyota can get away with minimal changes because, well, it's Toyota. It has massive market penetration. Toyota has gotten so complacent, it's serving up microwaved leftovers and expecting people to be grateful. Nissan has at least brought a different dish to the table, but time will tell whether Aussies actually want to order it. Thanks for watching, and what do you reckon? Is this the reboot Nissan needs for its Navara, or is it too little too late? Are you excited about the Warrior, or will you save some pennies and potentially just pick a Triton? Let me know in the comments below.